Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Ernie Friend, Director of FLATE, and certainly on behalf of the FLATE team, we welcome you to the next in a series of webinar series that FLATE produces. This one is creating videos using classroom projects and student success stories. And I'll introduce Dr. Cecilia Larsson here in a couple of minutes to kick off her part of the presentation. But before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about FLATE for those of you who aren't familiar with FLATE. So FLATE's goal is to drive Florida's world-class manufacturing, workforce education, and training. And we do that in many ways. A few of the ways that we do that is through curriculum reform and development, working with the schools and industry to update curriculum. We also do it through outreach and student recruitment, professional development for educators, which is one of the sessions that we're doing now, and technician education research. Next slide, please. So these are some of the schools that we work with. There's about 28 state community colleges in Florida. We work with about 24 of them. All the colleges that currently have ET, engineering technology programs. You can kind of see on the map where they're located. So if you're not partnered, if you're listening to this webinar and you're not connected with one of the schools, let us know. We could certainly help you connect. Yeah, thanks, Teresa. All right, so some of the activities that we do a lot of outreach activities. For example, we do speed networking and some other events. Right now, I am actually partaking in Skills USA here in Jacksonville. We help develop curriculum. We work with the educators across Florida and industry to identify new trends. And then we work with the educators to develop the curriculum so that they can teach that in the classrooms. We also host the FLATE Manufacturing Educator Awards, which have just closed, and the judges are looking at the applicants now for a final determination on who's going to win the very exciting FLATE Awards. And Cecilia Larsson, Dr. Larsson, recently got an award last year, so we're really excited about that. So she's definitely a award winner as far as the FLATE Awards go, so well deserved to her. We also have the ET Forum, which we just hosted a couple of weeks ago. The next one will be coming up in the fall. We do those 2 times a year. The last one was at Daytona Beach. The next one's going to be at St. John's River State College up in Jacksonville, Florida. We just created a data dashboard, which I think we're going to show a graphic on it here in a minute. You can get to it in a couple of ways. You can go to flate.org and look for the dashboard link, or you can go directly to it by going to manufacturingmattersfl.org. It's a great resource that it's definitely worth checking out. It can be a great resource for teachers, parents, counselors, and industry. We also host some mentor programs, helping, I know Marilyn and I directly work with a lot of newer faculty or faculty that are new to a school, helping them get going, but also mentoring and working with the industry to help mentor students as well. Okay, some upcoming events. This list is a little bit shorter. It used to be pretty long, but we've held a bunch of webinars already. So the upcoming one's still left. And by the way, you can see the link below. You can go to flate.org and check out the whole webinar series. All the past webinars have been recorded, so certainly take your time and go back and check them all out. There's some very interesting webinars from your peers across the state. So April 26th at 3:30, we're going to do how to increase student diversity in ET programs. I think that's pretty important, certainly in Florida, a very diverse state. On May 1st, if you want to increase your enrollment, this is another way to do it. How to develop ET dual enrollment early college programs. We did that at FSCJ, and when I retired there, we had about 40 IT high school students going through and getting a 2 degree in IT, as well as about 25 students getting either a certificate or a AS degree in manufacturing. So in the ET program, so a great way to connect with your local high schools and increase your enrollment. And then the final one is on May 10th. We have cybersecurity for manufacturing part 4. So it's a 4-part series. This is the last of the 4. So the first 3 were great. Hopefully you can catch the last one. and as well catch up on the first 3. Okay, a couple of events. I think we still have room for this one. This one is really popular. On April 20th is the FANUC workshop in the College of Central Florida in Ocala. Last I heard, there were 70 plus people. So I think we have a little bit of room left for that. So if you want to attend, the link for that is off the, you can get that off of the FLATE.org website. And Teresa, do you remember which drop down that's under? Is it under events?
It's under FLATE events, but I will also drop it in the chat. Okay,
thank you. And then we're also hosting on June 12th to the 16th in St. Pete is the FLATE Summer Teaching Institute. So that's a 5-day institute to teach, to help work with teachers to learn some new technologies that maybe they're not familiar with. Okay, so these are some of the resources. Amazing how many resources that Marilyn and the team has created over the last 20 plus years. But see, these are some of the sites that are available. FLATE.org, BetaFlorida.org, and we've also got a wiki on the far right-hand side. There's also a news blog that Teresa maintains, a great newsletter. If you'd like to be on that, you can also sign up for that. And then the other resource that I just mentioned was the dashboard. I think the next slide may have a picture. So this is sort of this is a picture from the dashboard. So just real quick, a couple of ways you can use this. The first 2 pages has a list of all the first map is a list of all high schools that have manufacturing and related programs. And then the second map on that page are tech colleges and state or state colleges. So it's a great resource. It's great for teachers, counselors, advisors, but also industry, because industry, there's a search feature there. So industry can look for schools that have programs that have the kind of skills that they need. So let's say you're in a different part of the state and you're looking for some talent, maybe you can't find it regionally, you can look in other parts of the state. So as you look at those maps, if you'd like to if you'd like us to help you connect with some of the schools around the state that you aren't currently connected with, let us know. We'll do our best to make that happen. So this is a list of the FLATE team, great team. So Dr. Marilyn Barger, who was the FLATE founder, is now the Senior Education Advisor working on special projects and grants. Daniele and Teresa, also part of the team. The 4 of us are FLATE, and we're really excited to participate in all the FLATE events, but definitely these webinars are exciting events for us. And I think the whole team is here on the call as well. So without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Cecilia Larsson. She is the engineering technology at the engineering technology department of Seminole State College. And she's going to talk to us a little bit today about creating videos using classroom videos and projects. So Cecilia, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you so much for taking the time and listening to this presentation. So I am just gonna see if I can share the page. Does it look good? All right. So what we are going to talk about today is how to use and why to use videos in projects, and additionally, how to use video presentations of student success stories. And those success stories can be either former students who come back and talk to current students and talk about their job and what they do and what they learned at the college that are useful when they are working. Or it can be a project that they have worked on during the whole year or the whole semester, and they are really happy to share that. And I'm going to give you examples from my experiences in my classes. And when I did this presentation, I thought about how many times I've asked students to create videos, and I realized that I have done that for 6 years, and I have more than 650 students who have been asked to submit projects in my classes. So I thought I can give you some things that I learned, some mistakes I did, and some good recommendations that I could hopefully inspire you to use in your where you need to use them. As Ernie Friend said, I am a program manager and a professor at engineering technology at Seminole State College. All right, so let's see. So, all right. I'm just going to check in, Teresa. Is the PowerPoint showing the way it should be?
Perfect.
All right. So, first, some motivation. Why do we need projects at all in classes? Why is that a good thing? Well, one advantage is that students can be really motivated by using a video project in the class. Another reason is that you can use it as a real world application of course content, because if you just use, or if one just used, the book, it was written maybe some years back, and you don't know exactly what is happening in the field right now. And engineering technology especially is changing all the time. So it is a great advantage that you can then say, for example, in a project that they'll find a new product or a new process. Then that will be a real world application that is always changing and that is relevant to the course content. Another advantage is that you get variation in your teaching, because you just read the book and here's a PowerPoint of the most important points and here is the assignments from the book. That can be quite boring in the long run. So using videos is a variation, and it also can be a modernization, because this TikTok generation that we have right now, there are quite a few of them that are really good at creating video content. It is also an active learning. So they are actually creating something. It's not the same as always. It's not given what they are going to choose, what they're going to do. And then as an additional benefit, if you're teaching online, it can actually create empathy for a video creating instructor, because they realize how hard it actually is to create a video that is good. Because I've had engineering technology students coming to me and saying, this was, I had to record this 5 times before I was happy. And that is sometimes that happens. Now, what is the risks now with having video projects? One big risk could be if you have group projects and the group doesn't work. That is the same in the classroom, but if it is online, then you have to have a better control of it. Because if you have a class that is really introduction class, such as introduction to engineering, and you have students in there that are really motivating, shooting for the moon, and then you have people in the class or students in the class who were told to try to take this class to see if engineering was good for them, and they realized 2 weeks in that it was not good, and now they are put in a group, and now they are not responding or not checking email and not answering. So that can make the class really stressed out. So for that sake, one has to be more flexible and maybe be able to create groups where there's just one student who will do it, or you have to find a way to not put that risk into action in your class. You can also have very uneven results when you give a video project. And the solution for that will be to give a lot of instructions on how to do it and what you are expecting. And the last risk is that students actually can feel that it wasn't worth all that work that they put into the project. And there you need to be very clear on the feedback and take the time to actually give the feedback to students. And there are different ways to do that. So we'll talk about some examples of that. Oh, all right. So the first example I thought regarding student-created video projects. is about giving clear instructions. So some of the pictures here are from a hike here in the video where I walk, and you can see the signs. They are showing the direction of the road, but there are no clear directions. You can interpret it in different ways. And that is the same when you are giving a video project. You have to be really clear on what you are expecting. So, for example, create a video where you explain the expectations. Then you can write a rubric with the expectations in it. And then you can use the same rubric while grading. That saves you time and makes you consistent. So here's an example of that, which I used in Introduction to Engineering. In that, I tell them that I want a title slide, I want an introduction, I want answer to the 10 questions. And then if you look at the bottom of the slide, you see the 10 questions. And then I want a short summary, and I want a reference list. That is very clear, and it's very clear cut, but nobody can come back and say they didn't know because you have told it in the beginning. And in this case, it is different questions such as coursework requirements, where do engineers work in the field, because the topic of this project is find one type of engineering and make a deep dive into it, research what it takes, what education, what jobs you can get, what is the salaries, those kind of topic is what they have to do. And in this case, there are some questions I needed to clarify, so I explained that what my expectations was in this. Another thing that I did was how to be clear on the instructions of how to do the actual presentation. So in this case, I went through and I told them that they needed to do 12 meaningful slides as a minimum. And I told them that they could do either a presentation that is a voice over PowerPoint, because if you have a later version of PowerPoint, you can just go in and do a PowerPoint voiceover. So you don't see the image of the student, but you will hear them talk about each slide. Sometimes you don't want that because the risk with that is that they are just reading something and they're not really presenting. They are just reading off the slides, which is a nightmare. But that you have to be clear on. It works in some classes, but others it doesn't. Another way to tell them is that they have to record themselves in a video. And that can be done using different programs, or it can be used just using their own cell phone. And they can just record it. And if they have a PowerPoint, some of my students, they put their PowerPoint in the background and they talk about it because they just hook it up to their TV. And they are very good at those kind of technical ways of doing stuff. Others are not able to do that. So what I tell them to do is that they need to submit their PowerPoint and then end the video. And then I will pull up their PowerPoint while I listen to their presentation. And that's absolutely fine too. And my last point here is that you have to have an option for students who are not used to doing this. It's not very common you come across those students in engineering, but if they have problem, an option could be that you set up a Zoom meeting with them and you record that Zoom meeting, and then there you go, you have your presentation. And the students can use that as their video. And then I have very specific times because that's usually what works and what the students need in the presentations, but like 10 minutes for a 3-student group and 7 minutes for a 2-student group and so on. It's also a tendency of using external videos by students. So they just take something that is out there. There's millions of videos out there that they can pick. So you need to limit that and making sure that they just have a limit of the external videos. And you need to tell them that they all need to be present to get the grade if it's a group project. Another thing that is unfortunate, and most other students would never dream of doing something bad, such as copy and paste and not doing their own work. But to make sure that you don't have anyone who does that and nobody is tempted, you need to point it out. So for that, Turnitin is very good to use. So if they submit an MP4 file with their video and PowerPoint, Turnitin can check the PowerPoint, making sure it's not copy and paste. And sometimes what I do that is quite effective is if you have an interaction classes, I just go to the front of the classroom if it's in person, and I just say that, oh, let's see what happens if I get a project that I need to study mechanical engineering. And then I go to Wikipedia, I type in mechanical engineering, and then I copy and paste everything that comes up and paste it in Word and submit it, pretend submit it. And I tell them that that's how fast I can make a presentation, but I don't learn anything. So that's kind of a way of opening their eyes for the fact that we as instructors are very worried about copy and paste and making their own work. You sometimes have to have kind of thought out of what are you going to do if you have a student in a group project that is not participating, because the worst is if they are in a 3 group and there's only one who does the work, right? So for that, I usually tell them that, if somebody is not helping out, then set a deadline for when they need to submit their part and then send a reminder. And if it's not, then you have to go on without them and then do a smaller project. So just to give that understanding for students so that they don't feel as kind of by themselves in a group, especially if it's online. If it's in the classroom, you have the chance of just talking to them and figuring it out. But if it's online, you don't have that luxury. So you need to be proactive. So the other thing is you need to explain how to create a good PowerPoint. However, there is nothing that is more boring than hearing how a good PowerPoint should be, because I think everybody knows when it's not good. So, and it's really boring to hear things that you already know. So what I figured out is the best way to get them to listen is to create the worst PowerPoint that they have ever seen. And that's exactly what I named it. The worst PowerPoint you have ever seen. And the idea behind that is if the instructor makes all the mistakes, then that will be, they will think about it and not do anything similar. So in this case, I have a slide that I just have text on, obviously a really boring text. So talking about bullet points. And then another one is talking about filling in templates, because there's so many templates out there and it's okay to use, but if you leave part of the template, it gives the impression that you don't care about your presentation. And then I have a third one, which is an image there where you can't read the text, and then just to put a solid background so that people can read your text. And then the fourth is just a graph that is impossible to see. And then when it is, people will not listen to you talking. So instead, you need to point it out and make colors or enlargements so people can see it. And the last slide is just some ideas about font size and images and bullet points and stuff like that. So really straightforward word, but it doesn't need to be more. I thought I'll make some examples also about student projects that I have used in my classes. And one of the projects that I use is a structural failure project, and I've used that in strength of materials. And in that case, I made a video where I created instructions for them. And what they do is they pick some structural failure that has happened in the past, and they talk about what happened and what error that was done. And that is good because in strength of materials, we talk about how things break and how to make them strong enough so they don't break. And then it's great to see how it actually can break. So what I do in that class is when I had it in the classroom, I didn't want to have people doing the same topic. So I asked them to submit their topic. But online, it is always good to get them into starting early on a project. So I asked them to submit their project topic and I approved them. Not so much that I don't approve them, but more that they get an early start and so on. So in that case, some topics that I found is that they have used the Surfside condo collapse that happened in Miami. So it's something recent that just happened, and they can be really interested in learning about it and understanding what went wrong. And you have the Florida International University pedestrian bridge collapse, for example, and so on. So what I do is I created an assignment and I write their titles as they submit them, so the rest of the class can see. And then I removed it from the slide, but I actually write their name. So they kind of, it gives a personal touch to it and they feel responsible. And I guess the only thing I can say with that is as an instructor, when you grade it, if you have botched 20 structural failure, you might not want to go over a bridge the day when you're driving home to your house. You just want to go on a safe, straight road, which is not any big, tall building around, no dams around, nothing that is dangerous. So that is what I have to do tonight, actually. So I have to grade those. But it's really exciting, and the students loves it. They feel so excited about this project, just to be able to do this by themselves and apply the skills they learned in the class. Here's another project that I have used both in person and in Zoom class, online class rather. And it is to present a method that is used in product manufacturing. And that is in the course materials and processes. So in that case, they are choosing a method that is used in manufacturing, and they can use whatever method that they are interested in. So some of my students, one of my students, he did soldering, and he did it in his garage, and he kind of showed in the video step by step how to do it. And another student did a lot of welding at work, so they were really interested in one particular kind of welding. So that's what that person's project was about. And then others, you need to just have a method that they are interested in, or a method that they want to work with when they are done. Then I just have to add the information that they have to submit the PowerPoint, because it has a tendency to have this, if they do it step by step, that is really practical and there's no theory at all. It's the functional part of it. And that's fine as long as that's what you expect. But then it has to be fair to the students who does not have that equipment in the garage or at work, so that you have an opportunity of making something that is great, even though if it's more theoretical. And I might have some experience in this, but I would like to recommend to set some expected time for the videos, even if you say max 10 minutes. I definitely have had people talking 25 minutes about their project because they are so excited, and I love that. But if you have 50 students in the class, it will take you quite some time to get through that when you are grading. So those are some idea that I used in that class. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the importance of feedback. To give productive feedback to each student, sometimes that is really time consuming, and sometimes you wonder if it's really worth it. But it is. That is really something that is really important for students' learning. So actually we have another professor here at engineering technology at Seminole State College. Her name is Christina Shams, and she just finished her thesis, and it's called Student Perceptions of Instructor Feedback Relating to Self-Regulation in an Asynchronous Community College Course, a qualitative case study. And I have the link here at the bottom of this slide. And what she studied was how feedback to students, what it meant for the students' learning. And one of the comments that you have is from a student is, you want feedback to have some type of positive reinforcement to let you know you're doing a great job on this, but you can improve on this. And I have found that that really helps the students. I mean, we are all human. We need to hear something positive first. So we need to hear what we did good. And I think we all have a need for that. So that is very important, especially if it is online. But otherwise, they also, if it is like a project, a video project, everyone gets 100% and that's it, that makes the student feel that it was not worth it at all. So you have to be specific on what you are expecting and what they can do to improve next time they do a project. And that would really help them to learn more. So if you want to learn more about Christina Schramm's thesis, I have the link here, and it is in exciting reading, and she's learned a lot about this. So another way of doing, or I would say actually, in addition to giving feedback, is to have the students giving feedback. If I'm in the classroom, I will ask the students to for example, tell what they thought about the presentation, something good and something that could have been improved, for example. And I will do the same in the Zoom class. I will actually call them out by name if it is a smaller class, and I will ask them, what do you think about this? Do you think that they are on the right path? And stuff like that, just to lead them into a discussion. Because listening to too many presentations can be not so interesting, but if you know that you might get a question afterwards, then you listen up better. So if you have an online class, Canvas lets you do peer reviews, and that's great. So I have done that in a class called Structural Design, where the students are writing about a new method or process that is used in structural design related applications. So maybe a new type of wood that are used in construction, or concrete that is used. So if you go to Canvas, you have the peer reviews, and you can either automatically assign the peer reviews, or you can do it manually, because sometimes you have one part of the class that are more mechatronics and another class that are more design drawings. Then you maybe want to group them together so that either they learn from each other or that they can give better feedback dependent on their background. And you just need to set a date when this is due, and then it shows up as peer reviews like this in Canvas. And then when you click on that, you have student 1. I changed it now. It was the name of the students, but I just did not want you to know who are my students didn't submit their review. So I call them student 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I assigned the other students to do that. And then if there's someone who is not submitting their report, you have to be able to find someone else that they can review if it's part of the grade. So that's a great way, and I got good feedback, because then the students feel like it's really worth it to do a good video, because the instructor is watching and giving feedback. The students, 2 students are watching it and giving feedback, and then they get a grade on it. So that really makes them motivated. And here are some examples of student reviews that I got in structural design. It's kind of a summary of some examples of different way of writing it. But your video about 3D printing with concrete was very interesting. Your point about this method versus using construction workers wasn't something I thought of. And I also didn't realize how much waste is created during construction. Your presentation was very easy to understand as well. And so on. So you can get different possibilities of them to review. Okay, So that was student project. The other part of my presentation is about student success stories. So what I have done and what really motivates students is to include former students to give a presentation and come back to the class and talk about their experience. And I have done that in the classroom with Evan Martinez, and I've done that with in my Zoom class with Lauren Dietel. And I'm going to see if I can show you a part of that. So just give me a second here. I need to find it. All right. Can you see Lauren Dietel here on the slide?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So like you said, my name is Lauren Dietel. I am currently working at Northrop Grumman. I had an internship there for about 2 or 3 years. And so when I graduated, I converted full time. It was kind of like cool having that background with the internship and then taking classes here. Because one of the things I really liked was how hands-on everything was. So I ended up getting a mechanical engineering job title. So I did a lot of design work. My senior capstone was during COVID. So what we ended up doing was designing a robotic arm that would be able to carry out groceries and load in someone's car. So my background with design there kind of helped lead me into more of a design role there. Since then, I have actually converted over to doing a project management style role for software. So even though my background is not software at all, I've still been able to kind of use some of the project management classes that I took there because I was in the engineering and project management specialization for my degree. So being able to take those classes ahead of time kind of gave me a little bit of a one-up on some of the other more senior people, I would say, at work.
All right, so that was just a little example of the fact that students can come back and talk to the class. And in this case, it was one student, and I really thought it was great opportunity for them to listen and learn, and they also could ask questions. So because we have had so many projects before that are really encourage them to give feedback, they were ready to talk more and ask questions. And to be honest with you, that's the student said that, it probably will take me 30 minutes, my presentation, when I asked. And then after 5 minutes, a presentation was done. But we had so many questions, so that was fantastic because the students could ask all those questions about jobs in general. And even if they are not interested in that particular job, she had a lot of feedback to give that was really useful. All right, so I'm going to see if I can share the PowerPoint here again. All right, can you see the PowerPoint?
Perfect.
Okay, so we've also had a few employers coming, and one employer was Siemens Energy, and they had a summer work experience program. So what they did was they popped into appropriate classes and just talked to them for 5 minutes about both what in the classes that they are taking that would be useful at work, because that's so motivating as an instructor. I love when employers comes and talk about that. And also opportunities, which is inspiring for them. Now, one has to be careful because an employer can always talk a little too much and be a little too excited, and then the content of the class will not be enough time for. So I think kind of sort that out before is a great tool. And it worked fine in those examples, but that has been my previous experience. And additionally, we had Duke Energy, and we had a former student. And let me see if I can go to that slide here. We had a former student named James, and when he graduated, he went to Duke Energy to start work there, and he came back together with his coworkers and gave a presentation about his classes and what was useful at work and so on. So that was really useful, and I have a little clip from that.
So actually, I'm in the same department as James and Giselle, so we're all coworkers. I studied mechanical engineering, and in substation though now doing like more civil and electrical work. So I've been doing that for a couple of years now. Giselle, do you want to go then?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Giselle Minikowski. I am also substation engineer. Started around the same time as Alfred, beginning of 2020. But my degree is in electrical engineering, and yeah, both Alfred and I are student coordinators. So we help coordinate the co-op and intern program at Duke.
Yeah, and James, do you want to go? Yeah.
So hello everyone. I'm James Castellucci. I'm a engineering technologist 3 with Duke Energy, same department, substation engineering. I'm actually part of the class of 2019 for Seminole State College. So I did pass my capstone in the spring of that year. Went on to an internship with Duke Energy, and January of that year, that's when they hired me on as a technologist 1 for the company. So yeah.
Okay, so that was some examples of how when they came to the class and what they talked about. And that was really useful because, again, they could talk to the students and explain what was useful with their education. Okay, all right. So that will be the way when students and employers comes to the class and talks and give video presentations. The other part is when you show students success stories in terms of their project. So if they have done a project that has been used the whole semester, for example, that is a huge project, and they can end up showing their result in a video in a very effective way. And there are new programs coming along all the time, which lets the students create video content that is really spectacular. So I have some examples here that I wanted to show you. Okay. Okay. So this is, I have taken away the sound here, but this is students who designed this cafeteria that they call the Bona. And they are now showing a program. It's a video about it. And it's done in a program called Lumion. And it's a fantastic program. And in that you put your I think it was Revit files, but there are programs for CAD files and for other files, and they have designed all this. So they go and use, they design the buildings, and then they have used the program catalog, the library, where they have this, the people and, different interior parts that they needed to make it this cafeteria. So it is, this is a great tool for them to show their result in a different way that is not a drawing, but that is actually a video that you really can be part of. And it's getting more and easier to use those programs, and you need less and less program space in because usually from the beginning, those you had to have a really strong computer to do this video kind of videos, but it's getting better and better and need less and less of that. And sometimes the department can even help you with that. And I wanted to show another video here.
This is our modular marble machine with the robotic arm. Over here, we have the Vex Trinity working a Vex forklift, Vex Archimedes screw, and a Hexalator wheel and axle system. It's got Arduino Nano microcontroller with 2 motor controllers and power buses running boards. Go over to a track selector here, which will take balls out of this hopper here. We'll be given the option of a white or a black ball. Black balls go to this machine here, the Ferris wheel, or white balls follow the longer tube going to the Vex Trinity, which are lighter, more ping pong style balls. The sensor here, whenever it sees white, will automatically change. Well, it's not on yet. But then it will switch the track selection coming over for the white balls.
All right, so I'm not going to show the whole video here, but you can see it, and you can see, hopefully I can show you the ending here.
So it comes around, it's completed its course sequence.
So you can see the robotic arm is in function here and is working, and it has gone through the whole process here now, and here they have a pretty cool ending here. So it's a fun thing that the students do, so they wanted some applause there. So that was an example of a project that students have done. And then I have another program. Let me see here. I think I need to stop share and then share again. Just give me a second here. All right. So here's another video that is done in SketchUp. And it is, again, a design, but it's, in this case, it's a school. And as you can see, it's another kind of program. It's more a rough program, but it's a program that that is really useful because it makes you feel like you're part of this. And I would say that I've seen that employers have asked for video content when students apply for jobs. So if a student has worked for a project and they have a video like this to upload, that is a great benefit for them when they are applying for a job. And because it really shows them that they have really worked on something, and it can tell the employer whether or not it is something that is useful for that particular position. So it is a great addition to the regular applications. All right, so that was what I wanted to share with you, and I'm just going to switch off the video here. So, and I was just wondering if there's any questions or anything that you was wondering when you were listening.
I've got a couple, but that was great, by the way, Cecilia. Nice job.
Thank you.
Before I ask mine, does anybody else have one? Maria, did you have one? So my question was like, how much time would you say it takes? I mean, obviously it depends on how long the video is, and you have to look at each one, right? So about how long does it take you to go through and grade them all?
If it is a project that like strength of materials, I have done hundreds of grading of those videos. I will be able to listen to the actual time that the video is, which is usually between 5 and 10 minutes. And then I just need a couple of minutes to give the feedback, because I've done so many comments about it. So I have them at the top of my mind, and I think about them while I watched it. But if it's the first time you do a project and you haven't really decided how you want to give the feedback and exactly what is worth what, it takes a lot of time. But compare that to like instructional design, for example, I asked them both to do a video and to write a paper about it, a short paper. And the paper, it takes longer time than doing a video and grading a video. And you get such an understanding of what the actual student think about it, as long as it's not a copy and paste work. That is the only thing one always have to be concerned about, because if they are just reading off some PowerPoint, you will see it, but the question is how you're going to grade it. It's not straightforward.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you use some of those with employers. I think it's great for employers to really see what's going on in the classroom. I think that's a great way to do it. Plus, it shows it's almost like a resume for students in a way, right? Like a video resume in a way. Yes,
and that's it's kind of going in that direction. So I think we can just we need to be forward thinking and think about what will benefit the students and how will the student get the job. So both the fact that they are coming to us and talk to us, it motivates the students to do better in that class, but also it gives them, they start to think about what they will do and where maybe an internship is something that they need to do, for example. So it really makes, and it also makes them feel that you as an instructor think about them and cares about them getting a job afterwards, which we all do, but we kind of get a chance of expressing it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So anybody else on the call, you can take yourself off mute if you've got a question or type it in.
I have a question, Cecilia. It's Marilyn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a rubric that you use to grade different videos? I guess that would be content or class defined, but
yes. So yes. So I would say the better my my grading rubric is, the better my grading and the faster it goes. So, and it depends a little bit. I really work a lot with grading rubric in the early classes with which has more students in it. So you need to be consistent, and you maybe don't have a relationship that is so close with the students yet because they are just coming to college. So for that sake, I'm very specific. So the rubric could be, did they have a title slide, and give points, because in Canvas, you can make the rubric and you can have like 20 items or 10 items on them. And if you have done a PowerPoint explaining what you expected, each of those points should be in the rubric, and you have already written them down. So you can have the title slide, and then in my case, it was the 10 questions. So did they answer all the 10 questions? And then did they use references? And then maybe you have some that is overall, content and so on, something else that you need to do. But having the rubric done really helps you, because you know that you are fair, because you're giving them all the same rubric. Because once you have it, you can just connect it to the grading. And then in the speed grading in Canvas, if you use that, then you can just give them either points or just write the comment there, which makes you not having to write again regarding question number 5 in the guidelines. You don't have to write all that. You just on number 5, you write your comment. You didn't explain this or whatever it was. But I also want to point out that if you use a rubric, you don't put anything positive. It's just it has a tendency of being only the negative because you tell them what was wrong. And that is the only thing you need to think about, that maybe you can say something positive also somewhere. So, you know, we are all human. We want to know what we did good and what we can improve on.
Hey, when you give that PowerPoint to Teresa to make publicly available, could you put the rubric on the last slide just so people have an example of something to start with?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Diane, did you have a question? I saw you came off of mute there for a minute.
Well, I was just making an observation that I think that rubric's probably a really good idea to kind of encapsulate how many different technologies are available. And so some video may be a little more advanced than another one, but they're still putting in the same amount of time, the same quality. So I would see how the rubric would come in handy for that particular instance with the technology bases available.
Yes, that is true. And it's always hard because some people are better at presenting than others. So it depends on what you're actually measuring and what you're actually wanting with this presentation. Do you want them to do the best they can do with their personality and with their skills? Because you're going to have a few who reads it, but you're also going to have a few who reads it because they didn't spend more than 5 minutes on it. So that is the tricky part. And that is not straightforward in the rubric. It's not an easy thing to write that out. I think at this point I have just used the guidelines and I've kind of included it more in the actual points, in the overall points there, but and I've written something because it's you also don't want to put them on the spot, like if it's the personality. I mean, if they are not good at presenting, for example, then it's better to say something like, next time, try to, what I usually say is, you were best when you looked at the audience and explained your bullet points. And you did that on figure 5 or something. That is how I turn it around, because it's not a negative way of saying it, but it also implies that there were a couple of other slides where they actually could have done a little better by talking to the audience instead.
I have another question. Do you have a rubric for the peer reviews of the students reviewing each other, or you just ask for that open-ended comment?
Yeah, I don't, but I do. When I started, I said, let them know what was most interesting in the PowerPoint, because I was a little concerned that it's going to be somewhere, going to be, not really the best reviewer, but now I feel much more comfortable because I realize that they are good at doing this. So I don't have to worry about it. So I don't have a rubric for that, but that's really something that I write about instead in the text, explaining exactly what I want to do. And I think that that's something that in the future I also want to improve more on and kind of see if I can use that in even more projects, because I really feel that it makes a difference.
Right. Did the students get to see the reviews from their peers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they will see that.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Good questions.
Really
All right.
great, really great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good. All right. Any other questions? Tammy, Laura, Maria, have any other questions? All right. So on behalf of the entire FLATE team, we want to thank everyone for attending. Certainly, Cecilia, thanks for doing a great job presenting. And we appreciate all the attendees that are on live and the ones that are going to watch the recordings. So please take a look at all the recordings we have available and the upcoming webinars at flate.org. All right, you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.